Hey everybody, this week the Supreme Court upheld a Tennessee law that bans trans care for minors in a 6-3 vote. This is a big win for children. Welcome to another episode of the Holy Politician podcast. This week's Supreme Court ruling affirmed a lower court's decision that backed Tennessee's law, which bars medical treatments such as puberty blockers and hormones for children under the age of 18. This is the only direct Supreme Court decision that addresses this issue to date. There were three Supreme Court justices that dissented in the ruling, and they are all right here on the screen. And unsurprisingly, they were all appointed by Democratic presidents. Notably, two of these women have no children at all, and yet they're making consequential decisions on behalf of other people's children that are dangerous decisions that completely strip these children of their identity. Tennessee's law that passed in 2023 aims to encourage minors to, quote, appreciate their sex, end quote, by prohibiting healthcare workers from prescribing puberty blockers and hormones to help them live as, quote, a purported identity that is inconsistent with the minor's sex. And I appreciate how the state of Tennessee used the word sex as opposed to gender, because we can all understand that there were two sexes that God established in the very beginning of time, male and female. He created them. So providers can now be sued and faced with fines and professional discipline under the Tennessee law for any violations. And in my humble opinion, these people should be jailed for a very long time. They should also lose the ability to practice any form of medicine, period. So here we are left to fight for the remaining 25 or so states that are not doing enough to protect children. And as believers, we should all consider this a huge victory. It's a major deal for the Supreme Court to come out with this ruling. So there's another update that is coming out of the Trump administration's advocacy and pressure against doctors and healthcare providers that have been mutilating, castrating, and abusing our children. But this is specifically in regards to the mutilators, castrators, and abusers at the Children's Hospital of Los Angeles, which has recently shuttered their transgender care program. Remember, every time I use language like care and health or healthcare together, I'm using it very loosely and even sarcastically when it comes to gender affirming mutilation and abuse. And so, really, the whole thing is bass backwards, right? Because how in the world does a children's hospital mutilate, dismember, abuse, castrate vulnerable children? And you call yourself a hospital where people are supposed to be going to receive treatment and human care, humane care. And then how do they receive federal funding, no less? And so the Center for Trans Youth Health and Development at Children's Hospital Los Angeles shut its doors on July the 22nd of this year. And this is a statement that they provided to their patients. Might as well just do this throughout the whole video. For more than 30 years, Children's Hospital Los Angeles has provided high quality, evidence-based, medically essential care for transgender and gender diverse youth, young adults, and their families. CHLA is immensely proud of this legacy of caring for young people on the path to achieving their authentic selves. Despite this deeply held commitment to supporting LA's gender diverse community, the hospital has been left with no viable path forward except to close the Center for Trans Youth Health and Development effectively July 22nd, 2025. That is worthy of a round of applause. That is worthy of our thanksgiving and our praise because you did hear them say that for 30 years that they've been castrating, mutilating and abusing children. You did catch that part, right? 30 years this foolishness has been going on. And so I don't understand. I guess these people have never heard of God's wrath. For 30 years, you've been doing this, abusing and violating vulnerable children who have no concept or awareness of the long-term implications of the abuse of their identity. And so, with that being said, I want to show you exactly what they've been doing for the past 30 years.
Dr. Olson had a decision.
You are in the perfect place to start on blockers.
And she promises to begin giving her estrogen, female hormones, in 2 years.
Around 13. That's what I think. Yes, you're not going to develop breast buds on the blockers, but you're not going to wait until 16 to start. You know that, okay?
Josie received the blockers as an implant in her arm.
It's okay if you cry.
So with all the bravery she could muster,
you're going to feel a little bit of a...
Josie held on tight as another chapter opened in this young girl's life.
Closing up the skin.
A lot of times it strikes me that had this happened just 20 years ago,
thank you,
I wouldn't have been able to give her blockers and she would have had to go through male puberty. That terrifies me.
It's all done. Do you want a hug?
I don't know that she would have survived male puberty.
I mean, if watching videos like this doesn't upset you or outrage you, I don't know. Are you in the land of the living? Do you have a pulse? Do I need to come and check and see that there's blood running through your veins? If you are not absolutely livid over videos like this, who is the reporter in this clip? I want to know who was the video, who was, first of all, the producer of this news segment? Who was the reporter that interviewed these people that made it sound like this was such compassionate care to strip this young boy of his identity? Who was the person holding the camera? Who were the people helping the doctor? This is child abuse. This is child abuse at its highest level. You see this little boy who now they want to become a girl, and it looks like his mother is giving him compassionate care at the very end. Do you want to? No, I want Child Protective Services to come and rescue me because you are crazy and you're ruining my entire livelihood for probably the rest of my adult life until this child prayerfully gets deliverance. These are the kinds of things that this transgender affirming care, children's hospital, clinic, whatever you want to call it, these are the kinds of things that they were doing to children. And that is an affront on humanity, common sense. It's an affront on logic. But as believers, we should be upset because it is an affront on who God created his children to be. And so the woman in that video who was supposedly providing this care was given a doctorate degree in medicine, and she's abused it. Her name is Joanna Olson Kennedy. You can Google her and look her up. Her name is still all over the website for this medical hospital that is supposed to be serving children. And she is the medical director of this gender-affirming care center. This very confused and very dangerous woman, in another clip I'm getting ready to show you, tries to rationalize that adolescents have the capacity to make life-altering decisions and understand their implications, and that they should be able to make life-altering decisions about their own bodies. This is what she had to say about young girls who choose top surgery so that they can identify as boys.
I'm just going to say this, that actually people get married when they're under 20. Actually, people choose colleges to go to. Actually, people make life-altering decisions in adolescence. All the time. All the time. And honestly, most of them are good. It's just the bad ones that we talk about. Oh my God, the cinnamon challenge, right? I mean, why do we know about it? Because it's a thing, and it's not common. Like, most teenagers aren't eating cinnamon, right? But some are, and they're on YouTube, and that's stupid. But we don't put on YouTube the things that are really good decisions, right? Oh my gosh, my kid took the SATs. Not a very exciting after-school special, right? But so what we do know is that adolescents actually have the capacity to make a reasoned, logical decision. And here's the other thing about chest surgery. If you want breasts at a later point in your life, you can go and get them.
Insanity, insanity. First of all, what is the cinnamon challenge? How does that equate with cutting off your breasts as a little girl? Cinnamon challenge, you're mutilating your body, which has long-term implications. How does she even use that as a similar analogy in the conversation about mutilation and castration of children? And then next, she's so flippant about it and so matter of fact about it. And everyone in the room is just agreeing and nodding their head. This is probably somewhere in Los Angeles. And then the audacity of her to say, you can just go and get breasts if you don't like it. You can just go and get breasts later if you don't like it. Like, that rationale is asinine, but it's also very dangerous and very demonic. And we know this. We know this to be true. So people like her should be nowhere near children. Okay. So it's so important that we are very prayerful and that we scrutinize anywhere that we send our children to get any kind of medical or health care because of people like this. This is danger at its highest level. And she's still walking around just functioning as if this is normal and as if there's not news reports with her face clearly in them showing that she's been mutilating, abusing children. So they need to go find her wherever she is, remove all of her medical licenses, and send her to jail until she confesses, until she repents, until she gets deliverance and comes to the knowledge of truth. She needs to be behind bars. And these parents need to be right there with her, right? And so this is insanity at its highest heights. But there is a clear profile of these people. And you may not be paying as close attention as I've been paying to the shenanigans and the charade and the insanity that's going on with gender affirming care, the mutilation and castration of children. But there is a clear profile. The castrators, like that individual that I just showed you, they tend to be predominantly white, educated, whatever that means these days. They're typically middle-aged and they have no children of their own. I've seen this with many of these doctors. Many of the doctors don't have children of their own. Some of these doctors are gay and homosexual, or they're in sexual relationships with same gendered people. And this is true for politicians that support and endorse this foolishness. A lot of them do not have children of their own. And so that should be a red flag for any parent that goes to a doctor or a medical provider that is providing gender affirming care where they don't have children of their own. But ladies and gentlemen, we're not using discernment. We are lacking the gift of the Holy Spirit, and obviously many of these people are. But I feel horrible for all of these white children whose lives are being decimated through this abuse. And so the castrators, that's their profile. But the abusers have a similar profile. The parents, abusers, they're typically white as well. They are more likely to be female. They also are highly educated. They also are middle-aged. They tend to lean liberal. They also are middle class. And then many of these white women, educated, middle-aged, liberal parents are also divorced. And you won't see fathers really having any say or playing any kind of role in these charades and shenanigans. So where's the father in all of this? That's the question we should be asking. Just like the father doesn't have a role in deciding whether or not he wants to abort his baby, the father also doesn't have a role in whether or doesn't really get a say in many respects as to whether or not he wants his Johnny to become Jamie or Jamie to become Johnny. The mother has almost full liberality to do whatever she wants to do with that child. If you don't see that that's a demonic agenda, where's your spiritual eyesight? We have to be very aware of what's happening and transpiring in this country, but also abroad. And so there's a father that I want you to listen to. His name is Jeff Younger, and I don't know much about this man other than he was advocating as a good father should do for his sons. And I want to watch this clip with you and just respond in real time. This is a very, very sad situation.
My name's Jeff Younger. Starting at 2 years old, my ex-wife began to try to transition my son to a girl. When I refused to allow her to do that, she filed for divorce. We went through a long 10-year battle in the state of Texas. She was able to muster more political power in the state of Texas than I was, and was able to take my children and move them to California, where she chemically castrated my sons. I've been fighting continuously. I've been up to the Texas Supreme Court. I got laws passed in Texas outlawing these procedures. Currently in California, the position of the courts is that I have to pay for the castration of my own son as medical child support. I'm refusing to do that, and right now I'm looking at 2 years in prison.
I mean, I couldn't think of anything more ludicrous. It's ludicrous. And it's exactly part of Satan's agenda. All of this is part of his agenda. And if we say nothing about it and do nothing about it, if the church doesn't stand up for these things and speak about them outright, not just kind of in general and vague terms, but if we don't take a stand on things like this, when I've heard that there are some churches that are actually leaning in to this type of reality, leaning into it, white churches that are leaning into this reality of making families that have confused children to feel inclusive in their churches. But if we don't lean into this as a church, who will? Because we have bigger fish to fry at this stage. We've got bigger things that we're dealing with as a society. If we can't understand that we need to refuse to be duped and we need to stand up for things like this, and we're going to have a hard time with the really hard stuff that's coming. And I've said this before, we're wasting our time on the easy stuff. We've got bigger fish to fry. Thanks for watching.